good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. Let me tell you something, man. It's been a long time coming. You know, I've been a guest on their podcast before, and we'll get into all of that stuff. This man is a husband, he's a podcaster, BBQ Pitmaster. He's something like a philosopher. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Charlie Maverick in the building. Mav, what's good, man?
Man, I'm something like a philosopher. What's up, man? It's been a long time, a really, really long time, and I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, man, the stars finally aligned, and here we are. You and Terrence had me as a guest on Past the Remote, where we did the Christmas shows tournament, and that was a lot of fun.
Yes. You know, we're supposed to make that an annual thing, so we definitely have to revisit that this December. Did we do it last year?
I believe it was 2 years ago.
Now, we got to bring that back.
Yeah,
we definitely got to bring that back. That was one of the memorable episodes that we did, and definitely really cool. So, and I love the brackets. You know, I remember when I first heard Since We Last Spoke, and I'm like, the vibe. Dude, the vibe. For one thing, the vibe with the intro music is like so cool. And when I was listening to it, it definitely came out during the pandemic. And I'm like, man, this vibe is so cool. Oh, this dude is from Monk's Corner. Let's go.
yeah,
Oh,
man.
I love it, man.
Us low country folks got to stick together, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you brought back a lot of memories listening to your episodes, man.
Thanks, man. That's one of the things that I intended to do on that podcast. And speaking of you also have 4 different podcasts. So we're going to get into the podcasting portion, but before we get into that, I want to know what life was like for a young Charlie Maverick growing up in the Low Country.
Oh man, so I always think about this because as I get older, you get a little bit more nostalgic. You start to think about certain decades, and at this point, I mean, I guess we consider ourselves 80s babies.
Yeah.
So we remember a lot of stuff from the 80s. So growing up in Charleston, man, you know, about 20 miles from downtown, it was like smack in the middle between you had Latson, Somerville, and then you had Goose Creek. So I was like on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
And growing up on it was what was it? Was it 52? What do they call it? 52? Yeah. So just growing up on in that side of town and all that stuff going on and the culture was cool. So what I remember most of growing up in the Low Country, and I contributed it to my grandfather, is going down every Sunday or any Sunday that, you know, kind of had some type of significance. We would go downtown to the waterfront and man, we just cool out downtown. And anytime I would get a chance, in my formative years, in my younger adult years, I would always go downtown. And there was a rich history. There's very, very, very complex history, mind you.
Yes.
Man, you know, I just remember a lot of things that I experienced in the Low Country, like the food and you know the fast food, and listening to a lot of your podcast episodes about you know the brackets of the food, and just took me back. You know, things like Po Folks. You know what I mean?
Yes.
By the Sam's Club right there on Rivers Avenue.
I miss Po Folks.
Po Folks, man. So
Them
many
clam
rabbit
strips
holes.
used to go stupid.
I still love clam strips to this day because of Po Folks. Yeah, it's just so many things. Like I live in Atlanta now, and there's no seafood like the Carolinas, especially on the coast.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I'm in Savannah, it might get close because you know that's like baby Charleston. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody from Savannah because y'all still have. I think they still have Carrie Hilliard's. Yeah, so I don't want to offend y'all because when I come into town, I will be going to Carrie Hilliard's. But you know, the seafood is just rememberable. Anytime I go home, right to this day, I'm getting me some oysters and some blue crab, right?
And talk about it.
Anytime, yeah. because in Georgia, I love living in the larger metropolitan area of Atlanta. Seafood sucks, man.
Yeah, it's all landlocked unless you're getting something out of Lake Lanier, which I don't know.
Nope.
You risking it.
No, not gonna do it. No. But yeah, I love the years in Charleston. I always say, and what I came up understanding is it's kind of like a retirement town to a certain extent. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind retiring there if the stars align to make that happen. It's a pretty good. It's getting faster pace. I would say that because every time I come back, I'm like, what's this? But it still has that smaller town feel at the end of the day. So yeah, man, I love the Low Country.
For sure, for sure. Nothing beats getting that seafood fresh out of the ocean, man.
Man, I miss going crabbing, dude.
So we're going to get into the podcasting now. So what got you into the podcasting game, first off?
I remember as far back as 2008, 9, and I had a BlackBerry back then. And I got really, really into BlackBerry. I got really nerdy into BlackBerry. And I came across a podcast called the Crackberry Podcast. And they talked about everything podcasts. I think the host was Kevin Mitchelluk. That's how long ago. It was back in 2009 or 8, right?
Okay.
So I'm listening to this, and there was another tech podcast that came out that was it was produced by CNET. It was another tech podcast, of course, and it was called the 404 podcast. And I started to listen to this, and I love actually the art of radio. And these podcasts put together a mix of what podcasting as a art form in that time was, and how radio is transcending over to podcasting, and how their aesthetic was, and how professional it sounded. That really got me into it. I was working at IHG in Charleston, on Ashley Phosphate, and my buddy, we were sitting in the same cube, and we were listening to the same podcast. So I'm like, I love this so much. I want to have a podcast that put something out there to express who I am in a way that I want to tell the story, because in this digital age, all we're trying to do is build a legacy. But I was kind of early to it, earlier than a lot of people. I wouldn't say I was the first. I'm not gonna be a soldier boy or nothing like that. I ain't gonna do that. But I will say I wanted to have a way to express aspects of parts of my life as a way that would live forever, if RSS feeds do live forever, that is. And I started that back in 2012. Called that, I think it was called the Charlie Maveric Show, because my niece was I don't know, she was really young at the time, but she was on Spreaker for whatever reason. I don't know how she got on Spreaker at a very young age. I think she was around 10, man, or younger. I don't know, but I got a request from her on her email. I'm like, she's really tech savvy, and she's like, Charlie Maverick Show, and I'm like, let me do that. So, and that turned into the Cell Tech Junkie, because of another tech podcast. Just going down a rabbit hole here, man. And it turned into the MavCast, to where I have it kind of open up to talk about anything that I want to talk about. No, oh man, tech, lifestyle, and just anything that's going on in my life that I care to talk about, and include the people in my life that want to talk about it with me. So that's how it is. I guess a lot of podcasts spun from that over time, because I like to try a lot of things out. So, well, that's how the MavCast came to be. That's the origin.
Okay. And then from the MavCast, you branched off into actually 3 other podcasts. So the next podcast I want to talk about is Pass the Remote with your homie Terrence P. Elmore. So how did you and Terrence become friends?
So me and Terrence went to Stratford High School together, man. Shout out to the alums of Stratford High School.
Shout out to Knights.
Yes, the Stratford Knights. Terrence and I were cool for a long time, man. We weren't consistently in communication for all the years, but when we started to jump on podcasts together, I can't even remember what initiated the conversation, but when we started on there was a podcast platform called Blog Talk Radio. And I was doing my podcast, the MavCast, on there, and we were just on there talking about, I think, TV shows and movies. And this was back before, you know, RSS got popular like Spotify. No one knew Spotify back then. So it was that early. And we just continued to collaborate, and stay in touch. And podcasting helped us stay into communication so much that we grew closer together. And especially during the pandemic, when you couldn't move around like you wanted to, we started to really grasp onto this one show, which we have a love-hate relationship. And this is why Pastor Remote stands to this day. The Shy, we hate that show because it employs so many Black people and is just good enough. But the writing just pisses you off. I'm just like, why?
It left much to be desired.
It's not Tyler Perry level, but is adjacent to it,
Okay.
It's almost there. Yeah, and we started that on the MavCast, and we put that in Pastor Remote, and we just kept going with that, man. Anytime that we have something that we like to talk about, we put it on wax, and that grew into Pastor Remote. Yeah, we did it on the MavCast for a long time, and it was just time. It was just time to separate it because I think the chemistry and the topics that we talked about made so much sense to have it as a separate entity that we just did it.
Right. And then the gear that you're wearing now is actually gear that represents your other podcast, the Black Smoke Barbecue podcast, and you being a barbecue pitmaster. First off, how did you get into barbecue, like doing grilling in pitmaster, like that universe?
So it was a long road. I'm not gonna act like I was birthed and then I'm like, yeah, I'm just slinging stuff. That ain't happened. I remember watching my dad early days back in Charleston area, using this small, we called it, the red top grill you get from Walmart, and had charcoal, had lighter fluid, and it just gave a vibe. And when I actually started grilling, is when I came back home from college. And we started to bond. My dad and I started to bond because we would sit outside. It was football season. We sit outside, and then we had a gas grill. So I came from someplace, right? Because I wouldn't tell you to get a gas grill now.
Yeah.
But we would sit out on the patio and we would just talk. And I was old enough to drink, so we were drinking. No promotion here, but Miller High Life. We were just out there drinking, and I was grilling ribs out on the grill all the time. And man, I just kept doing that and kept doing that. And over the years, I just kept that love. I wasn't always on the flyest stuff, but during the when I moved it, I think the pivotal moment is when I moved into the house that I'm in now, because I tried a couple of things when in an apartment. You can only go but so far. I think the furthest I went is like an electric grill, and I was getting somewhere, but you can't really do nothing on there. So when I moved into the house, I got a Weber kettle and played around with that, and I was like, snap, I could do stuff. And I thought it was fly until my wife was like, nah, that ain't it. I was like, okay. So I kept trying. And kept trying. And then there was YouTube University. And the BBQ Pitmasters, which was a show that was on cable, and just started to research and get better because I took my failures early hard on myself to the point where I wanted to improve. So I kept doing that. And I just went in and honed my craft to the best of my ability until people were like, ooh, that's good. Especially my wife, because you have to have the sign off, because if she don't like it, they just putting on maybe. They may be lying to you. She ain't gonna lie to you. So it got to the point, and she's not super huge on barbecue, but she was like, man, that's good. I was like, okay, we're here. did a little bit of catering during the pandemic, and started off on the MavCast. I did a little series called Grilling 101. Spun into the frequency, so I was like, I need to actually spin this off because I saw the volume of listens. Okay, there's something here. So I spun that off into the Backyard Pitmasters podcast. And I started doing that every Sunday during the pandemic. Now, there's a theme here. Pandemic is the theme of podcasting. I think is the pivotal moment for a lot of us. But when I started doing that, and picking that up, I had a couple of guests on, and one is one of the co-founders, actually the main founder of Black Smoke Barbecue. So Jeff Boyd, I had him on the show, and then I had Terrence on because we just vibe well together, and I didn't know Terrence liked to grill too, so I was like, hey, let's do something together. And we have chemistry together, so we jumped in there, and he was my co-host on there, and then we had Jeff on again. And we were like, something's here. All right, cool. So Jeff reached out to me one day, and he was like, well, I'm talking to this other dude named Jeff, and I think we have an idea that we don't see a lot of Black pitmasters out there on YouTube. Like, the algorithm is not friendly. Like, we see like one or two, but everything else is non-African Americans, if you want to be politically correct. So there was a mission that we had to kind of help each other that were doing content. And I was playing, I always play around on my YouTube. No, I never to this day take it seriously, but I wanted to help be a part of something that I felt that was looming, and to help promote Black pitmasters that the algorithm is not friendly to, and they're making really bomb videos, and just get to know people in the industry that are like me, that are enthusiasts, or they are really out here like making moves. And it just grew, man. It just grew into the Black Smoke Barbecue podcast, and we added some people on. We turned into like the Wu-Tang of barbecue for a hot second there. We still are now. We still are. We had to pull back. We had too many people on. It was like, oh man, we had so many co-hosts, and we're like, oh, we pulled back into our core, and yeah, man, this podcast alone has. I think I called my dad one evening after I talked to Jeff, and we kind of made an agreement to say we were going to put the Backyard Pitmasters podcast. We're going to change that over to Black Smoke Barbecue. So I called my dad. I'm like, I got a feeling on this one. Like, this is the one. And you probably had the feeling as well, because your podcast is blown up, and you probably had that night, and you're like, all right, yeah, all right, it feels right, right? You got the right people in place, and things were happening. And to this day, man, I call this my baby. This is the one. Where I put everything into. So all the full episodes I edit, the video episodes, audio episodes, and all that. And Jeff does a lot of the reels. Jeff does a lot. So he does the bookings, and he does a lot of the promotional reels, pre and post publications of each of the episodes. And man, we are just cooking and loving the fact that I'm networking with so many influential people in the industry, and these people are the nicest people you will ever meet in your life.
Man, and I tell you, just seeing the growth of that podcast in particular, and then y'all like actually taking the show on the road and going to different barbecue competitions just like all over the region, man. It's really been something to see.
Yeah. We try to take it national. The logistics and how things work with people being off and being able to travel and life situations and not getting in the way of those logistics. And we're trying to get an episode live at Kevin Bledsoe's event in Compton. Something happened with that. That was unfortunate. We were supposed to be with Rashid Phillips in Texas somewhere, and something happened. Something just happened. Yeah, I think we probably would have a presence somewhere in an event in Houston, but we try to grow out to more of the national level. But the Southeast, man, they have shown us so much love. I just want to say anybody that is from North Carolina, South Carolina, especially Georgia and Tennessee, and anywhere that y'all listen, the Southeast especially, man, they poured some love into the show, and yeah, just grateful, man. I am so surprised at the growth that we've had. But we got a ways to go. We still are in our infancy. I feel we're in season 3, but we're treating it like a true product, and trying to enhance and do things better every time we can.
Yes, sir. And then your fourth podcast, which is honestly is my favorite podcast, is the one that you do with your mom, entitled "Jesus Take the Wheel." So how did that come to be?
Man, my mom was on the MavCast as well. We haven't, mind you, with the caveat, we haven't done this podcast in months. So we just have to do it again. So it's on hiatus. But she was on the podcast, the MavCast, a couple of times. And I was like, I want an opportunity to communicate with my mom, because I'll tell you the story how it really happened. Because I almost forgot about this. We did a video called Negroes Cooking Grits on YouTube. Look it up. Swear. We were literally in the kitchen. She was cooking grits in the house that I grew up in. And I don't know if I was drinking that day or not, but it probably, I don't know, and just got the feeling and just broke out whatever trash camera phone I had at the time. It started recording and uploaded to YouTube. It was Negroes Cooking Grits. And it's like one of the highest viewed videos on my YouTube page. Thank you. Appreciate that. But and I get a lot of my humor from my mom. So, and we have good chemistry, because we the places that we've been to, we just have good comedic chemistry, and we like to tell stories. So at the end of the day, I wanted a way for myself and my mom have a frequent line of communication, and we also are telling something of a story, um, uh, in podcast form, because she started to listen to my podcast. She was joining the podcast, and she was like, "Well, let's do a show by ourselves," and I think she came and she said something. I think it's someone that won American Idol, and she just said it. Jesus Take the Wheel. I'm like, okay, that's the name. Okay, we'll do that. So we just have it open. Just try to be, at the end of the day, funny. Maybe telling a story, maybe getting serious sometimes, but at some point, highlighting people in our family that have been doing like some really dope stuff for years, and just appreciating them, and kind of going anywhere with it, again, trying at the end of the day making a good radio show podcast. So we had some of our family members on, that I grew up admiring, and we were really close, still close to this day, and talented. A lot of the singers in the family. But we got to bring that back, though. I do
Yeah.
tell you, we got to bring that back. It's I just been so busy with work and Black Smoke Barbecue podcast. I tell you, I talked to Terrence, and we have to really be cognizant of how long we have weeks between past or remote, because we're both so busy.
Yeah.
So with that accumulation of podcasts, that one just suffered because of just the push to have things come out. So I got to bring that back, though. I thank you
Yes,
for
indeed.
for liking that podcast, though, because
Yeah,
that means a lot.
that one was my favorite. Like like your mom telling the story about her and your dad going up to Charlotte, and then them getting flat tire, and she like having to wait at the rest area while he went to go get the tire. I was like, man.
That call was something else, buddy. That call right there. I'd say that call right there. I got that call. I'm like, where's Dad? I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while. Huh? Oh, okay. are you okay? I'm at this rest area, but are you okay? How long have you been there? About a few hours. What?
Yeah, like
Like, y'all, like I just can't get up and like find y'all. Where are you? Yeah, you don't know. And yeah, yeah, that call was funny, but yeah, we got to bring that back.
and speaking of family, and especially recently, like with your social media posts and you posting a lot of videos in regards to food, and your wife is somebody that helps you out with a lot of your content when it comes to the food. So I'm curious, how did you meet your wife?
Man. So there was a place off of was Rivers Avenue as well. We used to work at a place called First Contact. They were a collection agency for DirecTV. And back in 2005, we were both working there. She worked there before I was, and I was there. And I only was there for a short period of time because I still had knucklehead syndrome at the time. It was in my mid to early 20s. So we were on the same larger team at some point. So that's where we met. When we actually started to have a friendship is closer to 2008 and 9 and really close in 10. So we started dating in 2010. So she's from Red Top, I get that vibe, and
Okay.
that's beautiful. People over there at Red Top in West Ashley area, man, like I hung out a lot in West Ashley. I'm like, man, that's some cool people, man. But yeah, great family, and we just been vibing since then. Got married in 2015, and after we moved to Atlanta in 2012, yeah, we just been kicking it, man. Love that woman, man.
What was the first date?
First, matter of fact, the first date, funny enough, 2010, it was my birthday, March 12th, 2010. And she took me out because, I was in my young teens in that time. And she took me out to Applebee's, not far from where we both lived at separately. And she paid for dinner. I was like, oh, okay, man, that's something right there. Okay. All right, that's beautiful, man. In addition to the other stuff, man, that's cool. All right, so that's the first time was our technically first date, and she actually paid for it. So, you know, I know I had to make up for it, later in life, because that was awesome, man. Like how many first dates you have with the person you end up with and they end up actually paying for it because it was your birthday. And at the time I was eating my favorite meal. I think it was like, hate me if I get this wrong because my memory's so bad. I think it was like orange chicken or something that they had at Applebee's. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was our first.
Man, that's dope, man. Shout out to Black Love. And
Yes.
this is another thing that you spoke of on the MavCast, and you were really just very forthcoming and very transparent about issues with your vision, in particular, you having cataracts. So, what
Yeah.
was that experience like for you? And when did you first experience the issues with your eyes?
Well, since how they say the jump, I was born with congenital cataracts, both eyes. Man, it was a long time. So my mom noticed some stuff really early because she worked with deaf blind people, disabled people. She noticed some stuff and she inquired enough, and she reached out to enough doctors and the right doctor to figure out that, hey, he's blind, and yeah, so they did a lot of surgery back then on me. That I was very young cat at the time, in '82, and they were doing laser surgeries on me that kind of early with. And the eye issues from the jump, man. It just was a thing that's always been with me. I got to a point where with the surgeries just breaking stuff up and with corrective lenses, I operated fine. I had a lot of care early on because of the blindness from both my parents. But when I got to, kindergarten and such like that, I was. If I didn't have the thick glasses on, you wouldn't know. I
Yeah.
kind of was aware of my area enough, even when I was in high school. And a lot of people that went to high school with me didn't know this. But when I was in high school, I was at that where I was still transitioning from wearing really thick glasses to not having the right contacts yet because of my
Hmm.
vision. And man, people hate me to this day because they thought I was so rude. They saw me walking down the hall and they were like, well, oh, you ain't gonna talk to me. I'm like, if only they knew. I didn't know who you were because I had no corrective lenses on. Yeah. And, it was just something that just was a part of my life. And as I get older, the vision starts to deteriorate. The most recent thing was the detachment of my right retina. So that happened. That surgery was not so bad in hindsight, but you don't really want to go through a surgery like that. And this is exclusive, and I'm soliciting prayers out there from everyone that the other eye is starting to do that now. The same symptoms. Don't know if it's going to end up going the same trajectory, but we're hoping that I don't have to go through that again. But yeah, it's just a part of me. Doctor said at some point, he was like, well, you have the eyes of a 75-year-old. Like, why
Wow.
would you tell me that? For one thing, why would you tell me that? But hey, it is what it is. It could be worse. I have the love and support of my wife and the rest of my families. Um, I hope that at least at the end of the day, I can do still what I love to do. But hey, you know, you gotta go through trials and tribulations sometime in life to get to a point where things are either back to normal or better off than where you were before. And it was just like that current trying to take you under, and you fighting against it, or you're gonna roll with it. So that's how I treat it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And kudos to you for being so transparent about what you're going through. And kudos to your family for having such a strong support system while you're going through this.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So
Love
now,
y'all.
yeah, straight up. And now we're going to lighten the mood a little bit. So now we're going to get
Yeah.
into the 5 question segment. So the first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here.
All right.
Questions 2 through 4, 100% random. So question number 1, what were Charlie's go-to school lunch items?
Oh man. Love these questions, by the way. So my wife and I talk about this. There was both in Berkeley County, right? So this is the school just okay. There was a couple of versions of the pizzas that they used to serve. And it was the octagonal one, I think, that had the yellower of the cheeses.
The
And then there was
Fiestada.
another one that had there was 3 of them, I think. There was a French bread one that they had, and usually had like maybe it was Italian bread. And they had like an Italian sausage on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was red sauce and lighter cheese. And then there was another one, which was my least of the 3, but I used to still go to it, which was a very spongy type of bread. That maybe that was I don't know what that was, but I'll go to the pizzas, hands down. And the thing that I actually talked about this on a post recently on Facebook that my go-to lunch item was French fries. French fries, I think, was the thing when I was younger I thought was going to kill me because how I used to eat them. So I used to go to this section of Stratford where we called the canteen, and you had the cafeteria over here, but the canteen was on the other side after you leave out of the cafeteria. So you can get like hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, whatever, and whatever I would get some like a large order of French fries. Then for whatever reason, I don't know in Berkeley County who was over like the health, but I don't was y'all trying to kill us? Because they had like a whole big shaker like constantly every day. Like this wasn't like something that they just randomly had out. It was consistent. They had a big thing with the open dispensary holes of seasoning salt. Dash them mofos with them seasoning salts every day.
Man, y'all had it
Dude,
good. We didn't have the seasoning salt at Berkeley.
I mean, it might be a good thing because it might have saved some people's lives. Because I
Yeah,
thought
that's a
I
good
would
point.
have high blood pressure at this point. Oh Lord. Oh
Question
man.
number 2. If you woke up tomorrow and you were an elephant, what's your first move?
Stupid because when you asked me that, I thought of going on a Saturday morning to the Coastal Carolina Fairgrounds, going to the flea market and getting some boiled peanuts. It's the first thing I would do, I swear to God.
Oh, man, you really thought far ahead on this answer. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Question number 3. This one is courtesy of the homie Terrence. What's your favorite unit to barbecue on?
Ooh, you wrong for that, Terrence. None of them are sponsors, so that's okay. So there was this grill that I acquired from Old Country Barbecue Pits that sells their grills either directly at Bucky's or at Academy Sports. Hopefully they expand more. But when got going real deep with the barbecue podcast, I was in talks with these people from Old Country, and they sent me out this girl called they call the Over Under, and it's an awkward bad boy. It's a really peculiar fellow because it doesn't follow the traditional logics of what you think would be a great and efficient cooker. But I called this thing T'Challa when Chadwick Boseman passed away because this thing, whatever you throw at it, you know how T'Challa, whatever you throw at T'Challa, he absorbs it, and then he might push it back on you. And whatever I push at it, and I might have, it's not the most efficient thing that's out there. But if I have to cook a whole bunch of stuff really fast, even with stuff that has to be traditionally low and slow, as long as I have my technique, down to how, my logistics and how I want to switch stuff out, I can throw fire on there with the logs and charcoal and as much heat as I need to or as low as I need to, and I could pump food out. So that's my go-to. I would definitely usually say the Weber kettle because that's a Swiss Army knife. That's the go-to for everybody. Yeah, I think that one is unique. I don't know if I would recommend it to people to buy. Um, that may hurt in the long run saying that, but it's just very temperamental and it uses a lot of fuel. But the quality of food that you get out of it is amazing. If it tastes, the texture, the smoke, you definitely have to know where your hot spots are. But it feels like it's coming off of expensive smoker, and it's under $1,000 retail. But yeah, that's my go-to.
Okay. Question number 4. What's your favorite sneaker?
Oh man, definitely. No, I'm really. I would say Jordans, but I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I like me some Converse sneakers, the All Stars.
That's
I
classic.
used to have the ones that didn't have the high ones, the high top ones. I used to wear the ones for years that didn't have like the padded ones, but now my wife has got me over to having the padded high top ones, like regular tennis shoes or whatnot. Still has like the flat sole and everything, but yeah, those are my go-to. Wear those with shorts, wear those to the office. Those are just the ones. I would say Jordans, but I really don't wear my Jordans because I tell you what, if you step on my shoes, it's gonna be like end zone back in the day.
Boy, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have to have you on for that era of Charleston, man. The end zone. Oh my gosh, boy, you just peeled a scab just now. But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you with the Chuck Taylors, man. They go with everything. It's
Yes.
crazy how and it's like the shoes are still classic, still in style.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And it goes with everything, you know?
Everything.
Now, I wouldn't recommend running in them or playing basketball in them. I
Yeah.
don't. I really don't. However, you shouldn't do that with some Jordans either. But you still do. We're still here.
Yeah. And then question number 5. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Man, this get me in trouble. Because I want to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And it's tragic now. So trust me, this is not laughing at the whole situation. But I watch South Park a lot. And it's because my wife watched South Park more than I probably would have otherwise. But we were looking at this one where Cartman was making fun of this dude that he was being a master debater. And the way that they played it is he said it real fast, and I want to say it real fast to mess up the way that he was saying it with his mom, because he was arguing with someone in his room, and his mom was passing by, and he's making whatever, and you can just imagine the satire with that. So that was the last thing that really made me laugh, but I had to add context to that, of course.
Yeah.
But yes, man, that is the, because there's not a lot of funny stuff that really comes out a lot like it used to. I'm gonna ding that for TV. A lot of things are drama, so it's just random things that you find funny, and that was the last thing I really found funny. And I was like, well, this is funny. I think I'll go watch this episode again.
There it is. So, anything you want to plug or promote? The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Black Smoke Barbecue Podcast. If you guys like to pay subscriptions for things and support Black business, yeah, I spun it that way. Head over to patreon.com/Black Smoke Barbecue and subscribe and support if you want. Or just head over to YouTube and subscribe over there for free and hit the notification and just let us tell our stories, and you'd laugh, and you get to know some great people in the industry. I do want to shout out, there's many things I could shout out, but I do want to shout out Daddy's Girls Bakery that is in North Charleston. The Brown family that runs that, hey, love y'all. Y'all have National Chewy Day on every September 18th, I believe it is. So big shout out to them. I think they're still on Reynolds Avenue. They may have moved, but shout out to the homie Nate and his family for doing great things out there. And man, if y'all like Chewies, don't know what Chewies are, and they had a really good story. If you want to have them on, there's a really good story that they have. Knew them for a long time, and just want to say, man, go try those Chewies and then let them bake you some cakes.
Oh, they bake cakes too?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
go to their Facebook or Instagram and just scroll back and just look at all the cakes that they decorated. Man, I'm telling you.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like something I need to have a vested interest in. Soon you
Yeah.
had me at Chewy's.
Yes. Charleston Chewies. Yes.
Man, so shout out to Charleston Chewy's, man. Anything else you want to promote?
Nah, man, that's it. Just I mean, of course, just holler at me on social media. I almost forgot the main thing, Charlie Maverick, and just follow me on all the platforms. And that's about it, man. Just out
Right
here
on.
trying to mainly pump content for Black Smoke Barbecue right now. But yeah, follow me on all the platforms under Charlie Maverick.
Yes, sir. And I'll have all of that stuff that he mentioned in the show notes. So, Charlie, thank you so much, man. It was a long time coming, and I'm glad we finally got to chop it up.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
Yes, sir. And thank y'all for listening. Make sure you like, download, or subscribe to Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. Tell a friend about the podcast. You can find it on all streaming platforms. You can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to that. You can find me at Danny Foxworth 843, and you can find videos of every episode of this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast, At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, my Candle podcast, A Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, and Grown Up Lowcountry with Liz and Danny. And for Charlie and myself, this has been another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.
Peace.